Welcome back to the Four Nations. We've got ourselves a fantastic lower bracket matchup between BROD and Friends and Good Cheat coming your way. BROD and Friends who will be disappointed to find themselves in this lower bracket, looking to climb back all the way up to try and get themselves that grand final position. But I can't do this on my own. It's my absolute pleasure to be joined by two fantastic analysts. I've got Black Bloxer and Dubby King here with me.
Hello, everybody.
Great to see you. Dubby, how are you feeling before this incredible matchup?
I'm excited. I saw a night off, no Div 2 games, so you best believe I'm coming straight to Div 1 to watch everything happening here, so I'm very ready for tonight. Oh, yeah.
Fantastic to have you here. Max, you're here as well. It's not the first time we've done this dance, but this time an important matchup with elimination at stake.
Yeah, I mean, we had to say goodbye, unfortunately, to some teams yesterday. We've been saying goodbye to quite a lot of teams at the moment, and it's been so exciting. These best of threes have really been able to show us a lot more adaptation out of these teams, so I can't wait for it to continue.
It's going to be really good. As we've said, BROD and Friends, they were the 8-1 team, sort of the juggernauts of the split. They've come in now and unfortunately dropped down into this lower bracket, perhaps to the surprise of some. A lot of people out there predicting they're just going to have too much for Good Chi today. But W King, do you think this is just going to be a one-sided battle?
I think Good Chi can bring a showing. Like, I've known some of their players as well, and they've had some bit of roster changes themselves. BROD have had changes on both sides, of the positives and negatives from what I've heard. So I could see this definitely going to 3 games.
We've got a lot to talk about it with those roster changes. Before we get to it, though, let's introduce you to the two teams who we're going to be witnessing on the Rift. Coming up first, we've got Akaz up on the top side for BROD and Friends, Tofu in the jungle. QQR will be the mid laner with the bot lane duo Sin and Little Pants today. They are going to have to duke it out against Good Cheese lineup. They've got Smee up on the top side. Trez will be their jungler with Chova in mid lane, and it's going to be Maro and Ikari down on the bot side. A few of those names slightly surprising coming in blocks, so talk me through some of the subs that we're seeing.
Yeah, so specifically over on Good Chi, that was a big change all of a sudden, because Good Chi, they'd be rocking with the same roster for the entire time during the regular split. They'd had themselves Sin in the top lane and Fanwan in the jungle. And I gotta be honest, it wasn't particularly working. Like, Good Chi, they were able to show us some good moments, some situations where I was like, okay, maybe there's something here. And then in other situations, it really wasn't. They ended the split 3-6, so it wasn't the most impressive of performances from them, but they were able to squeeze into playoffs, and then they rock up to their first playoff matchup, and all of a sudden, everything's changed. They've got themselves a new top laner, new jungle, like you said, Smee and Trez. Now, I know we've got a lot of Smee fans around. The cult of Smee is strong at the moment, and there's good reason. These are two names that are very well known, have been around for a really long time, Trez as well, and they rocked up in that first matchup that they got to have, and were just absolutely dominating. Smee died once across the course of 2 games. One of them was on his signature Shen. It was just so much fun to watch. There was a great Vi game out of Trez as well, and it felt like they had revitalized this roster, a roster that beforehand I was struggling to really have an identity when talking about. All of a sudden, you can really point to that top side of the map and be like, yeah, that is where they can play around, and it worked great previously.
There are a lot of Smee fans out there, but Smee always a little bit of a trigger for me because it goes back to a long time ago. An ex-girlfriend broke up with me because of my obsession with Peter Pan, and at the end of the day, she had to say, it's not you, it's Smee. And somewhere out there, that's making Luna very, very upset, and that's worth it for me. Dobby, we've had the list of names there. 10 players who are going to be competing on the Rift. Any who particularly catch your eye, especially if there may be some of the substitutes coming in?
I'm most looking forward to seeing this BROD and Friends roster tonight. I think they have been looking good, and this game that they lost versus 200 Bandits, that was a big shocker. Don't get me wrong, the Bandits deserve a lot of respect, and they've had a bit of a rough split. They put in a very new roster that maybe took a bit of time to develop, and then they finally figured out their rhythm, and that's why they took down this BROD and Friends. And sometimes losing early isn't the worst, because it can build you some kind of momentum, give you a quick reality check, make you realize, hey, something isn't working out. Especially for BROD and Friends. They went on from losing their last game versus Venom Crest into playoffs losing versus BROD and Friends, and now they're in this weird spot where, okay, guys, we got to take this, maybe a bit more seriously, get the wins rolling, and just win streak all the way to the finals.
One of the players coming in as sub, obviously, and we touched on it very much so earlier on, is QQR in the mid lane, a player who I've cast in multiple finals through various tournaments and various levels across the years. Great to see them coming back in, but coming in as a sub and perhaps slightly underperforming in that matchup, and some fingers maybe being pointed saying, where's this all-star player who we're expecting to come in and really cement BROD and Friends' position in the final? obviously that's not the way things have transpired, and it feels like a lot of weight being put onto their shoulders now, Max.
Yeah, I mean, all of a sudden you come in and you join a team that's kind of not been doing so hot, like the subs in for Good Chi. You know, you win, amazing, now we're really excited about you guys. You lose, whatever. Whereas you come onto a roster that's been looking so good, and then you don't perform up to that highest level of expectation, all of a sudden, who knows, right? There's a lot of doubters being put on. I don't think it's all necessarily fair. New players on rosters at this point, it's really tricky to come in and just gel as well as possible. But at the same time, it's such a wild situation where you're like, yeah, do or die, right? You've already now been knocked down into the losers brackets. You can't mess around at this point. You've got to make it work right at this very point. It puts an extra level of pressure on.
We are into the draft for this first game, a really, really crucial draft because so much can be decided here early on. Dubby, any particular champions because of their position of power in this patch, or maybe that we associate with these summoners that we may be expecting to see here in the bans or represented in the picks?
I mean, to call out, we're still on 15.4, right? So any kind of patch that came out this week, all those changes just aren't there. So lane swaps are a big thing. We could see those. I saw them last night in Div 2, so that's something. Whereas picks, I was going to mention on the Skarner, that's banned away. I don't value it as much anymore, but it's still great. It's not the best, but it's still fantastic. So seeing that banned away does not surprise me at all.
This is an improvement from Good Chi here. They failed to ban it in their previous series, as in they were hovering the ban on R3 and then forgot to press the lock-in button on the ban and just let it through immediately. They didn't lose to it, but this is at least an improvement, so this is a good start.
Yeah, changes coming in already. The respect shown towards the Ivan, the Aurora now taken away. Tristan and the fourth ban coming through here, but blocks it.
Yeah, I mean, are we going to get to see something like the Callista? Now, we were hearing a lot of Frisky's hate for it yesterday, and it did not look good when it was pulled out, but at the same time, it is one of those priority picks at the moment. Not quite as strong as it has been previously. It's obviously not been hit quite as hard because we aren't on the most recent patches, and it's been a big priority early on. I think any sort of bans towards the ADC role right now for Good Chi makes sense, right? Sin has been looking so good throughout the entirety of this split. Not quite my top ADC, but I think the second best one in the split so far. So if you can pinch onto his power, that would be great. Any of the hyper carries too have been looking great. Tristan's a great ban. I think moving towards things like the Twitch and the Jinx would also be good.
Ari ban coming in respectfully as well. One final ban, and that's going to be the Pantheon taken away, leaving up some interesting options on this blue side pick. So often we see the team that managed to get the early blue side getting big wins. The Varus is going to get locked in. The one respect ban on Tristana was there for Sin. The Varus gets let through though, Dubby.
Yeah, so me and Vox are over here predicting our picks, both going wrong, wanting the Vi or the Ashe there. We won't get that. It's me is hovering this Ezreal, probably going down to Marrow. We'll have to see if that gets locked in. It's a confident champion, especially with the lethal tempo popularity on it. But you have to be very clean on him to really max the damage. So for sure, a possibility. We'll have to see what Mara can do.
Yeah, getting those cooldowns is going to be absolutely essential as that one gets locked in alongside the Maokai. Lots of flex potential for this one, Max.
Yeah, the Maokai, we've mainly been seeing it as a jungler at the moment, but it very much can go into that support role. It works pretty well with Akari's very heavy roaming style of play. Also good on just the straight-up engages. Maru going towards the Ezreal, though, does surprise me. He's been a lot more on these dive-heavy, very aggressive types of champions in the bot lane, something Ezreal very much isn't. But because you can unlock Akari to go around the rest of the map, that does help out. The Zyra locked in alongside the Varus right here. This is the sort of composition you just don't like to play against. At least I don't when I see it in solo queue.
I feel like I've gone back a few years in the World Championships in terms of the lanes that we are seeing here, but with the Zyra coming through, that's going to make it very, very difficult for the bot lane of Chi to try and overwhelm Sin, who, as we've said, is such an important player. If we see them getting ahead, that'd be great. The other thing that for me is so exceptionally important is getting a jungler with some early impact that's able to enable that bot lane getting ahead. Not going to be that locked in. Instead, the Ambessa coming through, Dubby.
Yeah, for sure. And you also have to keep in mind that this Zyra could also be a flex as well. I've seen Zyra jungles pop around every once in a while. So there could even be potential there for BROD to wait to pick and hold on their support depending on what they see here. But we'll have to wait and see. As Azir's now hovered, and that's a fun mid laner to watch. I love a good shuffle.
Well, with the Ari band away from Chover, it is going to be the Azir that is locked in just to make sure that he can get himself onto one of those comfort champions. How are you liking the start of this draft so far, Max?
I really like the basics that Good Chi have for themselves right now. We had a lot of talking yesterday about how, hey, not everybody is Limsy. You can't all pull out the Azir and have the best performance you've ever seen. But I think Chova's been pretty good on it so far. I'm not disliking that one at all. It's very basic out of Good Chi, though. This is not a particularly wild out there draft, not in the same way that BROD and friends have picked up for themselves.
Yep.
Because I do think it is going to be the Zyra in the jungle. It's the sort of champion that you really want to get that first couple of items on, and then you can completely take over. But at the same time, very squishy, very vulnerable if you can jump on top of it. I think there's very big possibility here for some massive streamer shuffles. As well as that, the fact that you've decided as Akers to blind the Ambessa into Smee, I think is a little bit of a risk. Smee is very good in these 1v1s, but then again, so is Akers. It might be a bit of a throwdown of the gauntlet in the top lane.
Unsurprisingly, given the fact that we've seen these two opposing, counter solo laners getting picked up, we're now seeing champions being banned away against them. The Azir will not have to face into an Akali, into a Veigar. The Ambessa will not have to face up against Renekton or Shen. Really, really crucial to see how those two solo lanes pan out. We get an instant view into what that's probably going to be, as this Cassant is locked in, Dubby.
Yeah, it makes sense. These bans, first of all, like you can blind the Ambessa happily, and then you take away the Shen, take away the Renekton, she'll have a better laning phase. Cassante, however, is something I could see matching it. This guy can just build so many resistances and still win out through damage just because of how the champion works. They will have to build mixed resistances though, because this Zyra can bring out so much damage on top of everything else. But for the early laning phase, it's definitely something that will do a good job of matching into this Ambessa.
Last few bans coming through to round out this draft for BROD right now, and the Corki is going to get locked in. With the Varus already locked in, that's almost certainly going to be going up against the Azir in mid lane, Max.
Yeah, we've seen this matchup forever. They changed everything around about the Corki and the Azir, and we still are going to be getting this as a pairing. Looking for the final pickup right here, potentially just going to be the Braum. I think it works well into what you've got picked up right here for Good Chi, but it doesn't particularly put a lot of threat really onto this Ezreal. This Ezreal should be very comfortable to just sit back, be able to farm up as you please. Now Good Chi, they're going to have to reveal their hand at this point. It could still be the Maokai in the support role. I don't really expect it in this situation. I think you're a lot more unlocked to go for something different because this bot lane is pretty chill. I don't want this. This would suck. Yes, an engaged support.
Hopefully we'll be a little bit happier with what gets locked in the end. It's not really that much of an engagement. I'm going to come to your thoughts on that one in just a moment, Max, but really interesting to see that Dubby, shout out to you on this one, because both of the second picks for these two teams do get a flex between support and jungle. They do both end up becoming the junglers. The Braum rounds things off, provides relative safety the side of BROD and friends. But Max, I can see you're steaming in regards to this calm pick coming through.
I don't mind it. I don't mind it. I wanted something a little bit more aggressive. I think Akari is best on these very aggressive, engage-focused champions. But I do like the Karma, and I think specifically with the Ezreal, whereas before I was saying, oh, the Ezreal can just sit back, relax, don't really need to get too involved. You can allow the lane to happen to you. The second that you pick in this Karma, there's now a massive amount of threat on your side. You've got so much poke to be able to lay it down. I think it works really well, and you weren't really needing for extra tanks because you've got the Cassante and the Maokai to work. I think this is a very well-rounded composition that Good Chi have got for themselves, but then again, they are up against a BROD and Friends comp of all time. This is a very BROD and Friends way of playing the game, so much more aggressive.
It is very much their style, and they've brought exactly the champions I imagine they would have wanted to the table. The question is to both of you, with those drafts now being completed, with the respective coaches having done everything they can to sort of help on draft, taking things onto the Rift as much as possible, which team has come out slightly ahead? We know on paper, BROD and friends, they're the huge favourites coming in. Good Chi definitely playing the role of underdogs. Has this draft helped balance things out at all in your eyes, Dubby?
I think if I'm going off which team I would win this draft, I'm just saying if I had a BROD and friends sticker, I would put it right on this big forehead. Like straight up, put it on there. I'm very happy with what they've done that. Yeah, I'm very happy with what I see. I think they could definitely take this first game.
How about yourself, Max?
This is a very BROD and Friends comp, like I'm saying. They can easily win with this one, but I don't know. I think Good Chi, they've done themselves a lot of favours here, and I like the way that this team's been playing with the new look roster. It's a tentative Good Chi prediction, but I don't know. These teams, it should be an absolute bloodbath.
I kind of expect you to say nothing less. I mean, at the end of the day, I've been clear that I'm impartial, but I do have a lot of love for the BROD and Friends team from my history with them over many gaming festivals. For you, however, it's been slightly different this season, and it feels like we've got a sort of a Grey Heart, Bron and Friends, whatever the opposite of that is. It does feel like that's been your role. So I'm not surprised to hear this prediction. The question is, will it come back to bite you in the backside? We're going to be getting into that game very, very shortly. But before we do, I do have one really important question. We have these two, we have a fantastic caster and Luna coming our way in a little moment. But that fantastic caster, Harold Hamhand, I've been playing a game recently. I don't know if you've ever heard it, called Bug Snacks. And basically, in that game, when you eat things, a part of your body turns into that thing that you eat. So if you've just eaten a burger, all of a sudden your leg is a burger, and it leaves me asking the question: if Harold has eaten ham and become a ham hand, what else is there? Are we talking like Harold's salami knees or Harold's cheese fingers? What do you think?
Thank you, Greyheart and the desk. Welcome everybody, as Harold stares rather shockingly at his hands, which seemingly are not made of ham.
I think so, at least. Not quite
They
sure
look pretty human.
Yeah, I mean, maybe I'll check after stream. We don't need to disrupt the flow of today. But welcome everyone. We're here.
Yes.
Hi.
We are here, and we should be ready to get onto the rift very, very shortly. The desk have given us their thoughts on where they think this game is going. Now, what's yours, Harold? Looking at these drafts, no other information at hand. Which way is game one going?
I would probably put it in BROD's hands. They've got the higher agency solo laners. The Ambessa, the Varus, that Corki probably will be able to guarantee them that early prio to play together with the Zyra coming in the jungle. But you never know. This is going to be a poke Varus. We see triple TPs for the side of BROD. Kind of not unexpected, but certainly not something I'm really used to seeing at this point. You kind of want to always play for the laning phase. In the side of Chi, double TP, there's the barrier on the Ezreal, lethal tempo on the Ezreal, which is, the new, I feel like the new wave of idea as Sin kind of gets bit in the ass by a Mystic Shot.
It's an interesting choice in this game against double melee. Going to be very mobile melee on one side of that, no less. So definitely going to be mildly difficult to catch on towards that lethal tempo stacking. That being said, definitely not going to be the be-all end-all of this Ezreal. Of course, Maro, big fan of this champion. But on the flip side, Sin played a lot of Varus, lethality Varus especially, and has always looked incredible on it. So we'll see which way this game goes. Early stages, however, expecting a much slower early game. Neither of these junglers really want to be getting too much going in the early stages. Of course, Maokai kind of can get the early ganks off, but you're not really looking at ganking an Ezreal lane early or ganking an Azir lane early. Even the Cassante you might have a little bit of struggle with, and the Zyra just wants to farm till 6.
Yeah, I mean, the thing is, you can't really match pound for pound the clear speed of a Zyra as a Maokai, so I do think you need to kind of look for a window to do something and to make something happen, as we see trading happening at the top side, using those Antofo strikes on the side of Smeet to just try and even out the trade from the Drakehound steps, from the Ambessa. Level 2's timers, 4 both top laners hit at the same time, nothing will happen. As we see Ikari just walking up in the lane and using this priority of the Karma Ezreal to just deny pressure on the wave from one of the premier wave pressure AD carries of the patch.
Yeah, I mean, it makes sense. Ezreal Karma always been a very oppressive lane, right? So, time will tell as to whether or not the pressure exerted by a Varus will be enough to stand up to it as the lane goes on. Of course, in the early stages, you have to respect the poke that this bot lane can do. Now, we see both junglers pathing towards bot side. There is a bit of trading in the top side. Aka's going aggressive on towards Smee, going very, very low. Doesn't have the cooldowns just yet, though. Smee definitely playing with fire by sticking around. Won't take too long for those cooldowns to come back up for Aka's. Flash available for both top lanes as the E forwards. Looks for a little bit of a connect. Does find it on the Q. Flashes forward. Doesn't find Q2. Doesn't kill with the auto and takes a tower shot for their trouble.
Hackers.
If Smee had a little bit more mana, that was first blood and a punish to the overaggression of Hackers. A beautifully avoided death by Smee, and a good attempt by Akaz. His teleport is used to get back to lane by Smee. Akaz has to respect this. Meanwhile, on the bot side, just a bit of poking going across. Going back to the original point, junglers, they path the same direction. You can see the Zyra taking bot scuttle, the Maokai going up towards that top side one. So we're going to see a standard trade of clears. Do we expect anything to happen in the next couple of minutes?
No, as you see, both junglers are backing. The thing is, the Zyra has already backed the 28 CS. Faded Ash has already picked up. Probably going to start picking up, camps whenever possible, wherever possible, trying to punish the Maokai's overextension. Maokai will be going for the Leanders as well on the first item, going for more of a hybrid build instead of the raw tank damage, the raw tank ability. As we see, pretty much standard going in most of these lanes. The Sin has used a teleport to try and cheat a little bit of lane pressure away from the Ezreal. Will be 1 minion up, with the extra longsword already picked up. But for what we can see right now, it seems like it's been pretty standard laning. Of course, we saw Akers' over aggression almost being punished. I think I think it was a trade of disrespect. A little bit, because you had on one end you had Smee just walking up and saying, "Yeah, no, it's fine. I have no mana, but I can survive an all-in from an Ambessa with a full energy bar." And on the other end, it was just Akers thinking he had did enough damage with the last Drake step, but it seems to be, the game's kind of going down the standard ways. I think you want to get level 6 on most of the top side champions before you start skirmishing. The public execution, the all out from the Cassante. Really strong abilities to try and find those fights. As we see more trading in the bot side, the Maokai was hovering, but nothing will happen.
Just going to be a much slower game, as mentioned. It is worth bringing up as well, QQR on this Corki. The Corki was one of his primo picks when he was with us before in the UK EL, but it has been changed since. It is no longer this big team fight mid lane. It is much more of an AD carry in current time, as Tofu just trading onto Ikari in this bot side. We could see a bit of an all-in if the teams are feeling it, but not going to be the case just now as Grubs come up and we look towards trading of first objectives. We'll see who goes where. But ultimately, we need to see if QQR can live up to the name he's made for himself on this Corki. And if not, questions start coming in. You have to start asking, what is the next step? You can see Tofu moving up towards these Grubs already as Trez moves down towards the Dragon. Pings coming down on top of it. It will just be a trade of these objectives.
Yeah, from what we can see, the Zyra usually does like to go for these grubs because of the absurd AoE damage thanks to the plants and just being able to cut so much damage away from the grubs. To the point of QQR, I think the last series, which 200 bandits took away, shockingly, we saw him a bit rattled after that game 1 where he tried to put a statement. He picked the Kassadin, got to level 16, wasn't enough. Lunkafer's Lilia kind of just ran the game. I think giving him a higher agency champion, especially one that comes in online way before that, the level 16 timer, is a good idea. We saw him on the Oriana last week. He did look a bit shaky on it. Feels like he wasn't really all back to his former self. I was a bit harsh on him, to be honest, but as we see a play happening mid.
Chover finds the shuffle onto QQR. In comes Trez to make sure she can keep him locked up. And Chover, with an inch of his life, survives and secures first blood. A beautiful use of the Emperor's Divide to make sure QQR cannot Valkyrie for his life. Meanwhile, on the top side, we can see Akers and Smee continuing to trade aggressively. Only about a 10 CS difference in this lane, which, if you're Smee, you are more than happy with.
Yeah, I think being able to just mitigate the lane pressure of the Ambessa as the Cassante, more than happy with the current situation. Really good play. As soon as we talk about QQR, try and lay him up for having a better game than he had last week. That happens. Really good punish. Really good punish by Chi. Making sure this Corki can't play aggressive. Oh, QQR had flash.
He was locked up long enough that flash would not have mattered, I believe. Maybe gets the extra auto and trades 1 for 1. Hard to say. not my place to say. I'm not a mid laner, and I don't know Corki's damage as well enough. That being said, we are now back to a bit of a stalemate. Even though the first kill went across to Chi, there's about a 300 gold lead, 400 gold lead in favor of BROD and friends, just off the back of the CS lead in jungle and bot lane. And it's looking... There was a single CS difference in top lane.
And there's a 200 gold difference, though.
How? Huh? What?
You probably missed cannon, my best guess.
Looks like a plate went down, actually.
But plate went down bot. Did the plate go down bot? No, that's
I believe
5
a
plates
plate went
still.
down top lane.
Plate went on top lane, but it feels like in bot there's a plate that's about to go down. It's like 2
That
HP
also wouldn't
away.
shock me, yes.
But as we see, this a bit of an adaptation we've been seeing from tanks lately. This build going for the Dead Man's Plate as first item. I've seen it a lot on, you know, we also saw it on the LEC. Broken Blade playing the Ornn, going for that Dead Man's Plate first item. I think it's just about, you know, having that kite ability, and, you know, also the bonus damage, because even if you don't have the 100 stacks on the Dead Man's Plate, you still get that bonus damage.
Yeah, definitely a solid pickup. You can see, just once again, back towards this little bit of a lull state. See Mitch kind of hovering around this mid side. Mitch, Little Pants, Brian the Lion, number of names across his time in the UKEL. Long-standing member and beloved player, support player. Absolute psychopath, no less. See both supports towards this top side for the second spawning of the grubs in about 30 seconds.
Yeah. I mean, you're trying to use this Zyra's zone control as just the vector to try and get yourself these 6 grubs to give you that side lane pressure. Of course, you know, Corki and Ambessa on the sides. You know, the Azir will scale into both of them, but the all-in power, as we see the perfect execution.
Akers goes forwards onto Morrow and blows him sky high in a public execution of the ages. Trez is now being collapsed on by Tofu and QQR. Ikari can do nothing but run for their life. There's no Valkyrie, so both should survive for now with a wave crashing. Trez is next on the menu, and she's being eaten by Sin. Back into the bank with that gold, and back to the stands for the tree from the Shadow Isles. BROD and friends pick up 2 and very happily grab themselves the 6th set of grubs.
BROD finally making good on that 8-1 promise we saw in the regular season. Being the dominant team, being the team that can just take the early game away from you with raw mechanics and better knowledge of the game, but so close from the Ezreal. So very close to steal away that grub. But it will be the 6 grubs secured from the side of BROD and friends. It will be 2 more kills secured for them. Akers picking up that Eclipse, making him so much stronger on the side lane. Likely unmatchable for most of the Chi roster as of right now, because this Cassante didn't really get anything through the laning. Kind of been starved of any presence from jungle, being starved of anything. Well, I think, you know, you could always try and play around the Cassante, because really oppressive champion once ahead. You know, tanks tend to be really oppressive once they manage to get ahead. You know, they're gonna become oppressive. They're ahead. They're gonna be oppressive the entire game.
They most certainly will. As we can see, this dragon started up by Good Chi. This will go to 2-2 objectives. Twisting advance is dropped. The dragon goes across, and BROD are kept at bay for now. QQR looks to collapse, as does Sin. Chova going to use the Emperor's Divide onto Mitch, who get caught up by the chains of corruption, and the feet of warfare will happily go into the back pocket of BROD, with Sin leading the charge. Chova, you cannot be there. It looks like Sin will be the one to remind you.
I feel like Sin is just kind of just getting funneled this game. We were talking about, you know, the lane pressure that the Karma and the Varus and the Ezreal, will have in this laning phase, but BROD just moves Sin around perfectly as this mobile artillery piece, gets a kill in the upside, gets a kill around the dragon, uses those chains of corruption after the Emperor's Divide goes down to just guarantee BROD an extra kill, the feats of warfare. But as we see, Tofu might be caught out here.
So if we're going to get caught up by that root from Ikari as Treads is being battered out of this fight by QQR as Chova appears on the other side. Maru now arriving as well. Blocked up by the Unbreakable from Mitch. Tofu not going to take a chunk of health there. And BROD, they're playing their defensive angles well. They're playing their offensive angles even better. 3,000 gold in the lead at 13 minutes. Feat of Warfare completed and very close to the Grub, or the Feat of Monster Slaying, as well as Sin is being collapsed on the mid lane by 2. Chain of Corruption goes down, flash away, one more auto will do it. Will go across to Ikari. The barrier was used by Maru for reasons unknown.
Probably was expecting a hail of arrows to come in, but Mara is... I'm not sure you want to walk up there. That is a one-item Zyra. She will kill you if she manages to land those grasping roots. But right now, I feel like, you know, BROD are kind of just dragging She all over the map. You know, they're making them force plays where they're still like, oh yeah, you're gonna force this play? Cool. We've set it up so in a way that we're gonna punish you on the other side of the map. There is no winning for you. We're gonna strangle you out of this game at this point. We have our early game lead, we have the 6 scrubs, we're gonna take away side lanes from you, and you're gonna be forced between a rock and a hard place every single time.
Certainly will be, as we can see Smee, the next on the list of those who will be forced away as Chova and QQR bash each other in the bot lane. Empress Divide was used, a couple more autos would be enough to finish QQR as the tower falls in the top lane, and the feats of strength go across to BROD and friends, asserting their strength. QQR jumping forwards onto Chova, one more auto will be enough. Does force the flash away, sidestep on the Phosphor Bomb, E forwards, but it does not matter as a missile barrage explodes the bird from Shurima.
Yeah, the Trinity Force spike coming in from the Corki. You know, Gun usually beats Bird.
Not going to tag, but Trez is coming in with this Nature's Grasp.
I think
Looking
QQR is
for
dead here.
QQR should fall pretty quickly. Nature's Grasp, or Twisted Advance rather, and QQR will fall. So Trez now on the board with a kill of her own. Maru trying to defend against 3 in this middle lane. Mitch, Tofu, Sin bashing this tower down. It should fall without much contest in the near future.
And again, we see the power of these 6 grabs, the power of the macro control from the side of BROD. Yeah, you send the Maokai to kill the Corki in the bot lane. You try and just answer the play after the solo kill from QQR, and immediately the pressure towards mid. That tower is half HP from... what, 5 seconds of pressure from the enemy trio?
Yeah.
I think it's just BROD really, after last week's games, they really understood that they needed to step up their game. As we see the gold leads, there's a 2k gold lead almost in this top lane for Akers.
Which
disgusting.
is seemingly just come from tower plates.
I mean, he's been farming on sides unopposed for the last, what, 10 minutes, I feel like, after the dive went through. They take away Smee, they manage to crash the waves, they get the 6 grubs, they use the pressure, they move the support up to try and protect him, but as we see, QQR might be caught out in the spot side.
It's 4 members strong as Maru goes dashing forward, flash forward from Ikari to make sure this route lands. And the auto will grab it for Maru. He is now on the board himself. Smee, the only member of Good Chi yet to get involved in anything. The only member in this game yet to get involved in anything. That being said, he's trying to defend this mid lane tower with Mitch and Sin at their back. This tower will be the next on the list of things to fall that BROD can put in the history books. Chi, they're doing everything they can to find something, anything to bring themselves back into this game just a little bit. But BROD, they've got their number, as the Herald is started up by Tofu while all the rest of that is happening as well.
Yeah, I mean, again, BROD really just making sure that, like, any play is answered in kind and with interest. Using that pressure that they get from seeing 4 people bot to force the tower mid. You know, Smee is there, but he's not enough to deny the pressure from a Varus at this point. There's a Braum that can just protect him permanently. And Akers, he's just been sitting in lane, just farming away. But as we see, a fight will go around this 3rd Drake.
Well, Akers coming in, Nature's Grasp used forward, public execution tags onto Maru, and he's blown to bits. Sin will grab that, it's a double kill for Varus as Trez falls as well. Smee is stuck in the pit with Akers, there's nothing left he can really do. Arrow goes slightly wide as Akers secures that one, and QQR happy to pocket Ikari. Trova left in the mid lane, and it's sole point to Good Chi. but it's a near clean ace for BROD and friends, and with a Herald in Tofu's back pocket, there is nought left to do but break open these towers.
Yeah, we're talking about a 5k gold lead at 18 minutes. You're fighting in a choke point against Zyra, Varus, Corki, and Bessa. What are you thinking? Like, why are you standing your ground? Why are you taking the fight? You have 2 Drakes. You need to buy yourself time. You need to buy time for your Azir and your Ezreal to get enough items to create this space for themselves. You need to be in a situation where you're not playing on this back foot. You're not playing like this, getting caught out by the public execution, by the grasping vines. It is extremely difficult for this She-Com to play, especially if the Azir is not there, because Chover wasn't there. It was a 4v5. While BROD decided to bring down the entire team, they lose the Drake, but they kill 4. They get so much pressure on the map for it. It is really, really exemplar what BROD have done in this game. Just systematically taking that, but the fight happens, stops.
Looking onto QQR, forced back by the Empress Divide. Chover will fall as Tofu collapses on the other side. It'll be traded up by Trez, but as Akari falls to Tofu, Trez can do nothing but run for her life as Sin. He charges the arrow, it flies through, and it tags Trez straight in the back. Tofu happy to take that one for themselves. But it feels like every time Chi look for something, anything they want to punish, they are the ones getting burned by their hubris. 7,000 gold in the lead now. BROD and friends are not here to play. They are here to command.
And there's a Shadow Flame just picked up for Tofu on the Zyra. None of that Rylai's to play for setup, to play for that late team fight. No, you just want to pop somebody and go. This BROD team really came into the series today just saying that, how can you put it? It just says, we've made our stumble. There's nothing there, you know, if you're in our path now, good luck. You'll need it.
Never falter.
But,
For now, just going to give a bit of a reprieve for Good Chi. They have a bit of time to try and figure out what they want to do, but all of their carries are falling further and further behind. There's very little can be done before too long. All 3 lanes being pressured, not a single matching 1-to-1 can be won by Chi at this point in time because they just get bashed with wallets. Dragon up in 1:40, Baron up in 3:40, and Atakan has just spawned, and you can see pings coming down on it for BROD and friends. They are looking to find the single objective to be the final nail in the coffin, as it looks like Chia instead going to opt towards Akers. All the time this Atakan still being killed. Very quickly it goes down as Tofu secures it, and Chi are nowhere near. Mitch might be caught out in the river. Walking up onto Smee as public execution tags, but Akers has to immediately run as it's only onto Akari. For now, Mitch is too far forward. Chain of Corruption tagged onto 2, but it does not matter. In comes the Garden of Thorns, but it only gets the knock up onto the tanks. Smee is surviving so long, and the Empress Divide tags onto 3 from Chover. He's doing so much damage as Akers falls. Marush up forward, it's Sin left on his own, and jumping forward, Smee picks up the kill in a 5-for-1 turn by Good Chi. Chover, what was that?
Chover coming up clutch with the faker play, the 3-man shuffle to just deny the space from the side of BROD once the utility to engage was burnt. Once Mitch was dead because he was caught out in no man's land, out of position, punished properly, and Chover just gets to run the fight. Maru on the backside, untouched. Goes a little bit crazy, ends up falling to being the only member of Chi to fall in this fight, trying to just damage check a Lethality Virus in the face, but Chi, where the hell was this? Where the hell was this in the first 22 minutes in the game?
Apparently they were keeping it for the time they needed it, and need it they do. That gold lead now collapsed to 3,000. It's a 4,000 gold swing in a matter of seconds for Good Chi. As this dragon is up and available, and BROD are the ones with position. They need to deny this soul because it's a Chemtech soul, and that is not a soul you can give to a composition like Chi has. Very little contest for now, it would seem. They're happy to give over the 1. They don't need the soul right now. They scale relatively well. It's Cassante, Maokai, Azir, Ezreal, no slouch as you get later into the game. More than happy to give this 1 and continue on.
I think being able to snatch away the third Drake, as much as the fight, didn't go their way, it kind of got run over by the damage in the pit from the composition of BROD, makes it so that Chi are not, in a position where they have to kind of contest every single one of these Drakes. They can just make time. And now with the Golden Fusion that the fight around Baron Pit gave them, they've got the time and they've got the way to just deny pressure, basically, because the Cassante is now on 2 items. He can not match, but he can just absorb the pressure generated by both the Ambessa and the Corki. The Azir will probably shred both of them at this point. As we see Akers, he's going to take the turret.
And he is, as Mitch is here to aid. It's me going to be able to knock Akers back, just taking what he can. With that tier 2 falling, this gold lead is slowly building its way back up again. Chi, they've had one really, really good moment off the back of their mid laner. Can they find another? 15 seconds until this Baron spawns. That is the next objective to play for.
Yeah, this Baron is kind of going to be the backbreaker, I feel like, for either of these teams, because if Chi manage to get their hands on a Baron, their composition does mid lane pressure in a 4-1 so well. You just leave you just put everybody together. You leave the Cassante on a side lane. You have the Azir standing behind Maokai. You have the Ezreal, of course, being there and applying the poke. But the pressure you can get on a tower, take down that tower, place down the Azir passive, and then just keep up the pressure because the tower gone down. You can just build our own. While on the side of BROD, of course, if they get this Baron, they have the 6 grabs, they can probably just force an end off of one misplay, off of one pick.
Yeah, that's all it takes at this point. That is all it takes. 35, 40-second death time is going to be hitting very, very quickly. Rapidly approaching, in fact. So 1 pick is all it takes to find yourself that much further from your strongest. As Mitch going to make sure that there is no easy way of access into this pit. So many plants up and available for Tofu. The Chi are just being poked out before they can enter the river.
I feel like
a lot of pings coming down.
Chi are really trying to delay this fight for that Rabadon's timer to hit on the Azir. The 2 NLRs are in the inventory. I feel like at this point you kind of just want to play with you want to stack the deck in your favor as much as you can before these fights. But Mitch might be caught out of position. Never mind.
We're able to jump back to Tofu for now. Just in case of keeping pressure up for now.
Sure, places down the Azir turret to just, absorb even more pressure in the top side. Of course, now the Azir turret, which is a big change from, yesteryear's Azir, applies item passives. So, but as we see, the Baron's going down.
Has been started up and is going down incredibly quickly. Ultimate doesn't quite get there in time from Maru, as it's a complete heist from BROD and friends, and they succeed without so much as a casualty. Akka's going to get caught, though. A good Emperor's Divide knocks both Akka's and Mitch's backline. The public execution only tags onto Smee. Twisted Advance coming in, tags onto Mitch, doesn't quite tag on anybody else. This Braum should be the first one to fall, as Akka's and Sing do nothing but run for the hills. QQR teleporting down, and Tofu coming in from the topside jungle. It is a 1-0 for now in favor of Chi. You managed to take away 1 Baron, but it's on the Braum. Can you find more? Smee is looking aggressively, looking for something, looking for a way to bring somebody back into his team. But for now, it seems that won't be the case, as Chi are forced back by the pressure of a Corki and a Varus, and the amount of a monumental range they can use.
And the Baron.
And the Baron.
I feel like we should have seen an early Baron come in or try to sneak away at the Baron because of that Shadow Flame on the Zyra. That extra damage on the plants. You just throw down the ultimate once you've spawned enough plants. You can at this point you can probably just solo the Baron as Tofu, but ended up being a force. Mitch does end up falling for his teammate's sins in the mid lane. I feel like at this point in Broad, you're gonna just try and use this Baron pressure to deny as much presence on the map as possible. You don't have the gold lead you had at one point, and I feel like as later on we go in games, the gold lead ends up mattering less and less. So you don't get that the same leeway you had earlier, but you still get more than enough pressure to try and force these turrets down on the sideline to make the pressure known.
Chova, able to trade his life with Sin, doesn't quite find the Emperor's Divide onto him, thanks to a good, well-timed flash, and the bot lane tier 2 will fall in favor of BROD and friends. You're happy with that, as the Azir taking this Varus off the map with the Dragon already down for BROD and friends. It's at least a point of pressure removed. 2 dragons to 3, so a 6,000 gold lead for BROD and friends. Now they're slowly making their way back to the earlier gold lead they had. QQR taking a lot of poke from Maro here, but Maro not enough wave clear to save this mid lane tier 2. It's just getting bashed down as Public Execution comes in, tags onto Trez, and down she goes. The tree has been felled. Timber, screams Akkers. There's now only the inhibitor turrets left before the final line of defense.
I feel
Chi
like
backs against the wall.
On the side of Chi, now you have that death cap on Chover, and you're kind of just relying on him every fight to power. You also have 3 items on Maro, but I feel like Maro is kind of gated by the immense AoE and just snowball pressure, the death ball kind of idea that this broad composition has. You're trying to run into a fight, try to stack your little tempo, use your Mystic Shot, use Essence Flux to kind of just, whittle them down. But there's an Ambessa running at you with Dracon Step. There is a Zyra that can just, deny your access to the fight, or even Kiting. If she tags you once, she now has that Rylai's. It has become, with these crucial item pickups, it has become so much more difficult for the side of Chi to have a team fight like they had. And that is a Serpent's Fang completed on the side of Sin. That is going to deny so much power from this Karma, as we see fighting in this bot side jungle.
Acker is going to get collapsed on for his Public Execution onto Akari to get to safety as Mitch now plays frontline. In comes the Nature's Grasp, tags onto one. Looks like Sin is going to be the first on the list of people to kill. Meanwhile, on the backside, Chova's caught by Tofu, can't quite find the damage. And meanwhile, Sin's still alive on the backline. Mara jumps forwards. Smee trying to do what he can onto Akkers, but it's not enough. There's not enough damage. Hikari falls on the backside to QQR. Smee falls to Akkers. Mara and Chova are left. Trez the highest health of all of them. Maru looking to back in a bush, will fall to the hail of arrows. QQR going to get pushed back by the Emperor's Divide, but it does not matter as Tofu finds a beautiful catch. On to the both of them, they both fall. All 5 members dead for no price paid by BROD and friends. And what little remained of the good Chi base is in no good condition. This inhibitor falls in the mid lane, and with 5 members strong, that should be game number 1. Was it clean? Not entirely. But was it determined? It certainly was. BROD and friends came with a mission, and they're halfway there.
Really well done by the side of BROD. I feel like Sin should have been dead in that last fight. Yes. How did he not die? I don't know.
Zyra route.
I think there was a Zyra route. I think there was also a Braum stun going down on the Cassante before the last Antofo strike could hit. Really, really, really well done by the side of BROD to, after that Baron fight, that you could have seen them stumble a little bit, feel like could have been a bit of a tumble back into those more pub days where you're trying to just hands check them at every turn. They pulled it back, they got composed, they pulled up their they just said, we have a gold lead, we have an item lead, let's use it to try and force something on the map. They get the Baron at the 27-minute mark, they force it thanks to the Shadow Flame Zyra. And then they start just choking out the pressure. They just start applying pressure on 3 lanes. They overload the lanes they want to take turrets in. And on the side of Chi, you don't really have wave clear except from the Azir, especially into a Baron. I think there was so much well done from the side of BROD that it's kind of overshadows what really great advancements have been made from the side of Chi from regular season to now. Playing this composed style, trying to play these team fights in a disciplined manner, succeeding at one point thanks to a bit of greed, a bit of overextension from the side of BROD, but still you have to pull it off. You need to have the mentality of thinking, we need to play around this because this is what our comp wants to do. and we can't really stray away from that because their comp is better at what like this more chaotic style than we are. We want to play with our 2 tanks, we want to play with our 2 damage dealers, and then we want to move forward as a unit.
When you can't do that, things do get hairy. As mentioned, it was a very, very back and forth game for a little while, but mostly BROD had it in their hands. Now we're going to throw to a very quick break, but when we come back, the desk will be here to break down that game and get ready to prepare us for game number 2. Don't go anywhere. You don't want to miss this.
We're back. Game 1 is in the history books already. 1 foot in the next round for BROD and friends. Things looking good for them so far, Dubby.
Yeah, I mean, looking very good after that game. It was a bit of a shaky mid-game, I'll say. Like, they didn't completely win confidently, as we can see here. But, I mean, the scoreboard doesn't lie at the end of the day. When we look at these damage numbers coming out from Sin, I mean, this guy dropping the 30k bomb, absolutely insanity.
Playing an absolutely stunning performance. Some big numbers in the KDA department as well that we can really draw our eyes to here, Boxer.
Yeah, I mean, there were just great performances pretty much entirely across the board. It didn't feel like anybody was dragging their weight. Nobody wasn't putting up a good fight. Everybody from BROD and friends had a really good look for themselves. It wasn't that Gucci weren't able to put up a fight themselves as well. They had a couple of good moments. Like you said, a bit of a shaky mid-game, but they just were never able to get themselves into enough of a lead. They were always fighting from a deficit, and eventually that deficit just became way too much.
But let's have a little look at some of those moments. First up, we've got one of the fights that went more in favour of BROD and friends, and you have an opportunity here to talk me through a little bit of what went right, what went wrong, and a lot of it came down to teleport timings.
Yeah, for sure. I mean, we look at this, you can see Azir TPing down there. It's just getting too late. The dragon is secured, but BROD and friends, they just be able to win through this nice and easy, getting a near full ace. Don't quite get the dragon though, but it's close enough for them.
Yeah, seeing in that one there, that was a nicely coordinated. The pincer movement had started, but what we didn't see quite there is just moments before we'd had the teleport coming down, I believe, from Ambessa. It wasn't matched in time or in the same locale by Azir, and as a result, that fight was free and easy. And that was very much how that mid-game was going for BROD and friends. They'd found a level of dominance, but they were sloppy at times, Max.
Yeah, it wasn't that they were just able to completely and utterly take over this game and then never look back. They're not clinical, really, in the same way that Venom Crest have been. It's very much the BROD and friends style, right? They're going to be scrappy, they want to fight you at all available opportunities, and they really did the whole game. It was good fun to watch, but yeah, it was not clean. Chova had a couple of really big Azir ultis that were able to fully flip the way that they were playing team fights around. It was never quite enough for Gucci. It didn't mean that they were able to actually win in these fights, but as we'll see right here, it wasn't that they weren't able to at least get something going. I think this fight has a massive Azir ulti about halfway through, and Chova really did show that this Azir is one of the better picks that he has. We talked about it in the draft. I wouldn't mind seeing it again, maybe with just a little bit of extra support from everybody else, but this is a gorgeous Shrimmer Shuffle right here. Lands onto everybody, and if this happens a couple more times, perhaps, 1 or 2 more of these big ultis, Gucci, they were never out of this game. They could have fought their way back into it, but BROD and friends, as much as they do like a little bit of in, a little bit of pog, they were just able to come out on top in enough of these fights to mean that they were constantly ahead in gold.
That ace there, just for the life of the ADC, was pretty much the last bastion of hope at the end. It was the moment that maybe for the Gucci fans said, oh, we're still in this game, this is a chance. But unfortunately, from that moment onwards, it was very much a dominant performance of BROD and friends. They started to get a little bit cleaner. They found the 27-minute Baron, and they choked out all of the opportunities. Still, however, hope, springs eternal, Dubby. What are the chances of Gucci coming into this next game?
I think they still have a chance. I said at the start this could go to 3 games, and they did not look bad. They got up to 3 dragons. They were close to getting the soul. Everything was in their favor. It was just maybe slightly better execution consistency from BROD. And to me, that just says, hey, Gucci, you're still in this game. You may be a game down. You're backed up against the wall. You got to get the next 2 wins, but they can for sure do it. They just got to give everything this game.
Max, my question to you is, who was the MVP for that game, and why was it Tofu?
Unfortunately, I'd love to give you a little bit of no, it was somebody else. But yeah, we were pretty much in agreement behind the scenes. Tofu as our MVP. He just looked so clean on this Zyra. We were talking about it during the draft, right? How much you can do with this Zyra, how much once you get a couple of items under your belt, you can just take over. The second that the Leandries was completed, it felt like Tofu was everywhere. Every single place that Trez was trying to get something going, Tofu arrived, did more damage, was just really clean on this Zyra, and was using the ulti to great effect to just control so much space. There was never an opportunity for Gucci to be able to walk cleanly into a team fight because they were always walking through just damage or just so much CC, and it made it way harder for Gucci to be able to play that one out. It was a very impressive performance from Tofu.
We are getting closer and closer to a position where we can look at Game 2's draft, a crucial draft for Gucci as we stand here now, Dubby. What changes potentially would you like to see coming into this one?
I mean, we do confirm that she is on blue side. They do have first pick here, so we'll see how they work around that. regarding bans and such, I mean, we know, I mean, Sin and Varus kind of go together in the same sentence at this point. It's like until BROD plays Bravery, you know, if they play that, you won't see them go off the Varus unless it's banned or picked away. So I would like to see maybe kind of changing there from Chi. We'll have to see what other bans they could replace out for this Varus, but that's for sure an adjustment I can imagine, especially after the results we saw this game.
I mean, we saw the Tristana ban last time. It was coming on the back of a Skarner ban. I suppose you have the option now that you're no longer on red side. You don't have to be the team that bans away the Skarner, so that's potentially a replacement that fills in. We'll see how that one comes in. A lot of teams this season have asked the question, how do you solve a problem like Sin? Not a lot of teams have come up with an answer. In fact, only 2 teams so far having got game wins against BROD and Friends. Gucci now going to have to find 2 back-to-back, Max.
Yeah, it's a really tough ask for Gucci. I'd want for them to move back a little bit more to the roots of what I think this Gucci roster is best for. This was a very competent draft, but it wasn't particularly next level exciting, right? It was very standard in the way that it's looking to play. I think Gucci, especially this roster, look better when they're a little bit more out there, a little bit more aggressive specifically. I think Trez really wasn't unlocked on this Maokai, looks much better on these engage looking junglers. The Vi went straight through this pick ban, which is very surprising. It's been the top priority jungler for us the entire way through. Other things like the Kai'Sa, something really aggressive potentially down in that bot lane, just to play a full dive sort of composition. They don't have to go that way, but I'd certainly feel a lot better about their chances in this next matchup if they did get a little bit more aggressive with it.
How about yourself, Dubby? Anything that you particularly would like to see pivoting, changing for Gucci to maybe turn the series on its head?
I mean, I gotta see Akari on a hook champion right there. This guy, he's great on enchanters, but he's best on hook champions. Maybe that's just my experience from when I played with them ages ago. But every time I saw this guy on a Blitzcrank, a Nautilus, even a Thresh sometimes, it was just fantastic. So, if anything, give me an Akari Blitzcrank and I will have a fantastic night because he will get those late game wildcard picks. He will get those hooks to win you the game. And when you're in this situation where it's win or your season's over, time for Blitzcrank, if you ask me.
I like what both of you are saying, and it sort of fits in a little bit to my feelings in terms of what Gucci maybe need to do. And for me, it's just chaos. And I think they have to embrace the chaos and they have to drag BROD and Friends into it. This is a team who do not fight against being dragged into chaos. This is a team who will probably embrace it if it's presented in front of them. It's sort of like the kind of classic cake or death. It's like, cake, death, cake, no, death, no. And I think that BROD and Friends would quite happily go, you want a chaos game? We'll play a chaos game. And if you can meet them somewhere in the middle and maybe come out on top in a few of those trades, because you've got the likes of Achova who make these fantastic plays, maybe that's your way into it. I think if you try and play macro, if you try and play, just flat out objectives and how we saw that game playing out, I think BROD and Friends probably walk it home through to the next round. Gucci, for me, they've got to go in and they've got to cause a little bit of mayhem. Whether or not they're able to do that, I'm not too sure. I guess it becomes a little bit of a coin toss at that point, whether that works out for them. But it all has to start in the draft. And being on blue side, they have the opportunity to do something just a little bit more spicy. A reminder before we get into draft as well, what's waiting for these teams? Belfast Storm is the answer to that one. They got the big 2-0 win just the other day, eliminating mental blank. Who did they knock out? Was it Rise?
Yes.
So Belfast Storm, they're waiting here in the next stage of lower bracket, while up on the top side there are teams still potentially waiting to drop down as well. There's a long way still to go here in the Four Nations, and so many games. We've still got at least one game coming tonight. Just waiting still on the draft. We're going to take ourselves just a very quick break until that draft is ready to go, but we'll be back very shortly. Don't go anywhere. We love it when these breaks are shorter than anticipated. The team's so close to being able to get into this draft, so now we can bring you all of that action live and in person. As we've said, BROD and Friends, they are 1-0 up against Good Chi. Good Chi now will be on the blue side. They'll get their first ban coming through. We'll see if they make any changes from last time around. The Tristana still gone away, as I expected, Dubby.
Yeah, you did mention on that, and it makes sense, because Tristana's a pick that if you know what you're doing with it, it can just be so strong, and it's flexible as well, so it has everything you'd want in a team where if you like the pick, play it. So I get that, but no shocker right there. I do see the Varus being potentially banned away, and you know what? Yeah, it's banned away, confirmed right there. When you saw a game like that last game, if anything, it's just a reminder or a precedent for the rest of this split to maybe ban it in the future, because BROD Sin, they like their Varus.
Trez having the Ivern band away from her again here. Did get to play a different tree in the last game. We'll see if any change comes through on that one. And one of the things that I'm finding quite interesting as we swap over here is the change that's potentially going to have to be made for BROD. Do they continue to ban away the Ari, which they took away from Chova to take that comfort away, or do they get rid of the likes of the Skarner, which has been so incredibly strong in the Four Nations, Max?
Yeah, I'm not super worried if they actually leave it open. Yeah, I think Chova's Ari is a lot more impactful than Trez's look on the Skarner would be. I think Trez is an excellent jungler, but I don't think the Skarner particularly fits with the way that she likes to play the game, and not the way that I would like to see her play the game in this specific matchup. So I think it's fine to leave it open. At the same time, if they do end up picking it up for Good Chi, it is still strong. There's still a reason that we saw it banned and picked so much throughout. Going towards the first pick, Corki, as well. I mean, it's such a strong pickup at the moment. I think either Chova or Maru can make good work of it. But finally, W, you actually get the Ashe that you were calling for previously.
Yeah, I just like it. It worked. I saw it a lot the other week, and it's just a confident AD carry pick in the sense that you blind this, you can play it at anyone. If you fall behind, it still has the crystal arrow. It's so powerful. So, AD carry, I really enjoy watching.
It does occasionally get those incredible Rangers focus pentakills, but quite often people get told that they're being put on Ashe duty rather than the thrills that you'd get from the likes of a Tristana. So maybe not playing quite so much in Sin's style. It'll be interesting to see just how they adapt to that. The rest of the lock-ins, fascinating to me. The Corki, of course, swapping hands now, has that flex potential, opens up the rest of the draft. One thing without a huge amount of flex potential is going to be this Cassant, and Aka's now going to play the other side of that matchup, having the knowledge they're not going to have to play it into an Ambessa this time round.
Oh, and they do actually pick up the Skarner right here. I mean, yeah, it's been so good at the moment. We'll have to see what Trez is actually able to do on this one. Can technically go into the top lane. It actually has a completely fine matchup into the Cassante. You get a little bit pushed around, but you can survive it, and sometimes you're able to actually get yourself solo kills back in that matchup, so it could happen. At the same time, I was going to say, like, if you don't pick yourself up the Shen already, it's immediately going to get banned. We saw it in the second round of bans previously, and that does also lock Trez in on to this Skarner. Now, I'm sure people in chat are going mad right now, because this is Smee's pick. This is the pick for Smee right here, and to be honest, into things like the Ashe and the Cassante, it has a really good time, and you can make it work with the Corki and with the Skarner really well.
There's so much potential, and it's also the opportunity for that slight dive comp that you were talking about, because all of a sudden anyone who goes in, you know, you can have the backup of your top laner coming in through the Stand United. There is the chance to have a little bit more chaos, a little bit more fighting breeding through this, and it also makes that a little bit harder for a team who are known for liking their turret dives in BROD and Friends to actually be able to execute these cleanly, Dubby.
Yeah, but when you're looking at this kind of situation right now, you have these two insane tanks from Good Chi. Match that with a Lilia. She likes playing around tanks. Stack up that Conqueror. You've got the passive right there for max health damage. All these AP items. Match the power farming AP champion with the power farming tank, and you're sorted. So I really like this pick, and I think Tofu, if they play this well, I could even see a back-to-back MVP going on right now.
Max, I didn't even know you had health damage. We're going to see this lock-in coming through for BROD and Friends, which had obviously been played against them to such great effect in the match that saw them knocked out of the upper bracket. Second phase of bans targeted towards the supports, as that's something that's not been touched so far. The Rel and the Midio are also going to be banned away. Just a couple more bans to get targeted, and with the top laners essentially all but secured here, maybe some attention towards mid, as Syndra is the next one going away, Debbie.
Yeah, I can see these bans making sense. I mean, you saw Mitch have even though they got caught out a few times, the Braum pick still worked out overall for them, and that would be a nice tank Milio is something as well. It will synergize very nicely, and ultimate insane for any kind of CC counter you'd want against good Chi. But now we get QQR Vagar. I saw chat popping off a bit about this QQR Vagar. Does anyone here want to tell me a bit more about this pick?
I mean, it's the pick, right? It's the pick for
Okay.
QQR. He's cracked on it. I mean, as cracked as you can be on the Vega, I guess. Presses are real good at pressing the R on this pickup. But I mean, it works so well. This is the sort of composition that is like truly miserable to play against once you get into these team fights, because you're getting slows from the Lilia, from the Ashe. You can't move because you've got a Veigar around. I mean, I like Maru on this Jinx, but at the same time, that's a pretty immobile carry. You're very reliant now on whatever the support is going to be.
Does a hell of a CC train, building up some speed for BROD and Friends. Let's see how the composition gets rounded out now for good
Give us the
Chi.
blitz.
Feels like
not
they've
gonna
got
be
to
the
have
Blitz,
something
no.
with some pretty impressive defense stats, and that's not really one of them. It's going to be the Karma again. I see some shakes of heads there. Who wants to chime in for that one? I know it's not a bard. Don't make the joke.
I just wanted something that wasn't Karma. I mean, not gonna Karma. You need an enchanter this game, right? When you have Jinx, you have Corkier, you need something to help keep them alive. As much as I would love a Blitz, it would probably just not favor this combat at all. So Karma it slots in well. It's something that Akari likes. So yeah, I get it, but not what we would have wanted for sure.
I mean, Dubby. I mean, at least it's Karma, not Yumi. That's something. But I mean, I guess Karma is a cat. Alistair going to be the final lock-in, and yet more CC comes in, and there is such a big potential here for Jinx to have a hell of a bad time.
It's very much on Maru right here. You've highlighted it exactly correctly. Does Maru live through these team fights? If yes, congratulations on your victory. If no, you're about to just lose this game in an instant. You've got to get to the point where the Jinx is able to do the damage. Can you? Can you live through this? I'm not sure.
W rightly said it was going to be a win for BROD and Friends in the first one. You sticking with them in game 2?
Nah, yeah, there's no way you lose with this draft. I've cursed them if I said that, but there's no way. There's no way.
Max, your BROD and Friends hatred led you to an incorrect prediction game 1. You sticking with that?
I'm going down with the good chi shit. The Smee faithful will be rewarded. Let's see it. Come on.
We'll see if Max is going to go down on that one. Let's throw back to the ever-talented Luna and the Four Nations version of Waluigi. It's Harold Hamham.
Okay, that one was... I mean, you said it yourself at the start of show, in the green room. You are Waluigi today. You've got to give that one to him.
Yeah,
It caught me off guard a
it's
little
fair.
bit, though. So, game 2. These drafts are interesting. A lot of stock being put in this Karma for good Chi, taking away that Corki, but giving over QQR's Veigar, as well as taking a late Jinx, to what you know to be quite a CC-heavy team, as well as the Leah into multiple tanks. Harold, which team's taking this as we get onto the Rift?
I mean, I think it is very much known that I am going to flame you if you don't pick up the Skarner if it's open, like, you know, on the first few rotations. I feel like BROD have prepared an answer. We will have to see whether, you know, this Lily answer, which is, I feel like, very good. You know, the Shen is picked up, the Lily is the Skarner is picked up. You're already fighting into 2 tanks. You're already, like, almost in your groove, but, like, you're gonna have a difficult time, I feel like, getting on top of the backline. But as we see, 4-man stack in bot side for Chi. I will save my prediction after this fight.
Sin gonna spot Trez and just start to walk back. Of course, no CC really up and available, so this should just be for vision for now. Looking to get a bit of information as there is an invade on the top side as well. Smee caught a little out of unawares here. Akers and Tofu just going to walk in to get some vision down themselves. Will just be a trade of wards in the enemy blue sides for now.
Is
Should
that a
be
cow or
all
a piece of
short.
cheese?
That is a cow.
Very, very cheese-like. I'm not gonna lie.
I mean, it's a dairy product. I don't really...
True enough. But beyond all of the shenanigans, welcome everybody to
Whiplash.
Summoner's Rift for the second game of the series between Good Chi and BROD and Friends. A lot of picks have gone down in this draft. A lot of them, you know, we were having a lot of, talking. You know, we were of course watching the draft before the series. We were just there chatting about. You know, we see QQR on his legendary Veigar, Trez stealing away the Wolf camp and probably trying to set up a split map. You don't really want to fight this Lilia, but Sin and Mitch are just in there trying to scrap around, trying to delay this take timer as much as possible.
Flash forward from Mitch. Ignite goes down as well. Sin and Mitch stepping forwards quite aggressively as the blue buff is not quite kept leashed.
Oh. And Tofu is just farming away on this top side already. A camp
As
ahead.
is Maru.
Like,
And Sin's resetting.
I mean, yeah, he took a lot of damage. Mitch burned both of his summoners to try and make that play happen. I feel like...
That's disastrous.
I think it is not as disastrous as it could be, mostly because you are still playing Ashe. We saw
and he's
this... Oh, he has TP on Ashe. I see.
Oh! Oh, I see.
Yeah. But I mean, like we saw in last week's series from the 200 bandits, the guys that did they were the ones with the Lilia side of the matchup at the time. But I think Tofu is not really looking to early gank. At level 3, he kind of just wants to get this farming lead on the Skarner. You kind of just want to run away with the game with this Lilia, get the CS lead. We saw last week Lunka 4 kind of just taking over the game, but we'll have to see whether the Tofu is able to pull off the same kind of performance this week. But as we see, Sin is taking so much damage from this Karma's Jinx. I said that you're relatively fine. You can go down CS because you're still going to have the setup for your Lilia, for your Veigar to deal damage later on in the game. But this is a bit disastrous, and Trez is still on the bot side. This could just turn into a dive really soon.
Certainly could do. For now, it is just, as you mentioned at the start of the game, that little bit of a split map. The red buff's still not been taken by Trez, though.
Are we going for the wolf respawn instead of the red buff?
Yes.
Okay.
So, can you kind of run us through what this pathing is kind of trying to do?
Yeah, I mean, I think the pathing on the side of Chi, especially from Trez, is basically just trying to deny, the respawn timer for the camp that, does give that extra XP. But at this point, this Lilia has already taken a reset. You are even in CS, but this Lilia has those faded ashes that will help her clear so much more quickly. And as a Lilia, you do want to try and go towards those grubs as your first neutral. But as we see here, Tofu is already ganking the bot side, and Sin and Mitch just kind of have to back off. The Karma Sky thing potential is just a bit too much right now. Just a bit of scrapping, I feel like this. You just want to force the wave in from the side of BROD. Nothing massive will actually happen in this lane. As Trez is now in the river, Tofu... a bug chasing off a deer.
Scorpion says no, dear, no. A good attempt from Tofu, absolutely, but not quite able to find anything with it. Of course, as you mentioned, the kiting coming out of Ikari and Maru, just a little bit too difficult to catch. There's a 23 CS lead in the bot lane in favor of the good Chi members here. Sin has been bullied within an inch of his life in this game.
Yeah, I think Sin is really just... At this point, he's kind of just understood that, just like last week when Ellendale was on the Ashe for 3 games in a row, I am here to provide setup for the guys in my top side. I am not here to be the carry to deal all of the damage in the game. I am here to make sure my other carries can do all the damage. You don't really want to give Jinx an early lead, but if the payoff is your Lilia getting a massive CS lead, getting ahead, getting those levels, just taking over the game, I feel like you're going to be fine with that. But as we was saying earlier, Lilia does love to go for the grubs. The AoE damage is kind of just a bit nuts. So...
Will just be that trade of objectives, as you say. Still no kills going across yet. As Trez actually moving in towards this top side here. If she can steal away one of these grubs, at minimum, you deny that feat from going across to BROD and Friends, and it will just be given the smite used to secure that second one. So it will be Chi coming out on top of this first objective trade, starting on the road to denying 6 grubs already.
Yeah, the grubs will be starting to be stacked up, but of course, Trez taking away that one, trying to deny the 6 grub, inferno that was last game. I do think, at this point, from the side of BROD, you understand that your bot lane is never going to be the lane you're gonna try and make plays around. I feel like you're kind of just looking at Akers and Tofu to try and make something happen in this sort of game. Because on the side, QQR on the Veigar, kind of just want to farm at this point. You're into a Corki, so you don't really have lane pressure as of right now. While you can try and make plays happen around the Bastion of Nazuma.
Yeah, just try and look to make things happen. Lilia finally getting onto her bot side and actually getting some camps this time. Happy to start taking those away and just increase that gold lead over Trez in the bot side for quite a while. As Maru running at the bot lane of BROD and Friends. Cleanse comes in and first blood going across in the 2 versus 2. Very nicely done there by Maru and Ikari to grab themselves that first kill onto Mitch. Both summoners blown. It looked like she was excited from somewhere. Not entirely sure where that could have been. See a bit of shredding the top side as well. Smee on this signature Shen. We get all outed by Akers. A lot of damage coming down. These Intofar strikes really starting to shred through this Shen. Knockup comes in. Auto comes down. Spirit's Refuge comes in. Smee can do nothing but dance around the edge of Akers' range. Too much damage from that all out. Back in.
Oh!
Taunt under the tower by Smee. As now it is energy versus a manaless. Akers as both flashes are blown. Smee just going to walk back to his wave. Beautifully done once again in this top lane. Both of these top laners showing their prowess on their champions.
Really good flash response from Akers, denying the slow from the Spirit Blade drag through. Smee trying to make something happen in the top side. The farming ease even. We see Akers going towards the Deadman's Blade. The Rangers focus. Well, no, the Hawk Shot will reveal the Trez taking her topside camps. Not much else to it. As we see, little, it seems to be mostly CS differences for the side of Chi in this game. There's a slight gold lead for them. Of course, they picked up the kill in the bot side. And this Lilia we harped on so much about, she's not been able to just run away with the game, mostly because Trez hasn't really been ganking. She's just been farming the entire time.
Yeah, I mean, both of these junglers happy to just sit in power farm. They are both at that level 7 mark now, though, so ultimate's available. And if you can start to impact the map with those, things get scary very, very quickly. Harry stepping forward once again. Flame Chompers go down, don't quite tag onto Mitch, but a lot of damage coming out of this Jinx. A BF sword in inventory.
Well, there's a BF sword in Sin's inventory too.
There is. That being said, Sin isn't the one auto-attacking.
That's true enough. Roid of Ages picked up for the Veigar in the mid lane. As we see Mitch going for the engage. Tofu's right there.
Arrows down as well. Maro will fall to the wayside as Sin picks up that kill. No cleanse available means the Alistair into Arrow combo is just too deadly. Tofu able to get on the board with that one, and with this dragon up in 10 seconds, can look to deny away the second charge. Feat of monster slaying very, very quickly. We'll see what the call is as Trez, Ikari, and Chova all look to move. Trez going aggressively. His Challenge Impact doesn't quite land. Swordcy tags onto 2, and they're both trapped in the baby cage. Sleep goes down. Ikari has to flash. Only managed to land the Impale onto Tofu as QQR finds Ikari on the other side of the fight. Trez now stuck between 3 members that she does not want to be in the middle of. Swirl Seed goes between the 2. It's a goal for Tofu. Knocked out of the baby cage by Mitch as Trez. QQR does have the Primordial Burst available if he can find the angle for it. Not going to go for it. Just going to start this dragon up instead. It's the second kill for this side, as well as ensuring they get this dragon well. Akers and Smee still beating each other over the head with their tank stats. As things stand, Smee all outed once again. Looks like we could see a bit of a trade. Manaless, Smee could look to go for it, but likely does not. due to the damage difference. Goes slightly wide. This Tred's just going to focus on taking the grubs instead. So it will actually get evened up. 1 objective to 2 in favor of Good Chi, with all 3 of these grubs going across.
Yeah, I do think, Chi have done an excellent job neutralizing the Lilius potential. In this team fight, in the last team fight we saw, I think Mitch with a little bit of a miscalculated headbutt combo, the pulverized not coming through at the right time or the event horizon just being able to just stop the knock up, the pulse coming through. But as we see, Akers has no mana. He will just be dove here.
Oh, a beautiful rocket from downtown secures that one for Maru as Mitch arrives onto Trez. Tofu just going to clear off the Krogs. Plates going down, and of course with everybody topside here, I'm assuming for the Herald that is
We're just
spawning.
Just having a scrap about.
Just having a bit of a Barney up in the top lane, are we, Good Chi? Just having a bit of a barn dance.
Yeah.
Not gonna have anything coming of it just for now, as QQR gonna bash on this bot lane tower.
Yeah, but at least at this time in this game, there is not that potential of the 6 grub pressure just coming down on these turrets. There's 2 grubs on the side of BROD. QQR, of course, stacking up the passive, stacking up the Rod of Ages, probably going for that death cap 2nd item with a needlessly large rod in inventory. On the side of Trover, there's still no Trinity Force to cure the 4 this quirky.
Trez is still here. I was kind of kidding when I said we were having a bit of a Barney, guys, but it seems they may want one. Akers, Mitch, Swilsey coming down mid. Akers is going aggressively forwards. Trez.
He has the Deadman's Blade, so...
Spotted. Ikari now going to be caught a little bit too far forwards. Back steps. And just to dodge the Intofo strike for the slow, though. Not too sure what the end game plan is here for Good Chi.
I think the objective is to just have a fight for fun. This point, there's no objectives on the map to take. You're not really getting pressure on that turret. There's a Veigar free farming in the bot lane. There is a Ashe free farming in the mid lane. You're just there to, I don't know, fight, because Bloodlust, kind of very much me League of Legends, which I approve.
Both teams a single kill away from that feat of warfare. Good Chi 1 objective away from the feat of monster slaying as well. Of course, last game we saw the feats go across to BROD and friends. The Tofu and Mitch just stealing away camps from Trez. Kind of how we expect this to go.
Trez, currently being in a bit of a limbo situation where you do want to farm as the Skarner, you want to get that, those items, because I feel like a Skarner that has itemization ahead that, completes that the Unending Despair really soon after you get the Heartsteel. It's, you want that. At the same time, there is a Lily on the other side that will outpace you at one point, and you need to get proactive. You need to get a lead somewhere, because as much as we're praising Chi for the early leads, the early CS leads, especially in the bot lane, the lead is evened out. There's a gold lead on the side of BROD and friends, most likely sitting on in QQR's inventory as of this right now, because he's been on the side lane for so long, just being not interacting with the game and just farming minions. And it's not like the later this game goes, your chances of winning go higher for the side of Chi. There's a Veigar. He's gonna use that Primordial Burst and just blow up your AD carry with one ability.
There is a Veigar, but there's also no real magic damage coming in from the side of Good Chi either into Cassante Alistair. At best, you've got Chova with the true damage on that passive, but realistically, if you one-shot Chova, Maru gonna have a real tough time cutting through that front line on his own.
I mean, you have the Spirit Blade damage. That's something.
Don't think it's going to be enough, unfortunately. So we see about 45 seconds away from this dragon spawning. Herald just up now, as well as Trez looking for the Ishtal's impact. Doesn't quite land it. Does get pushed back by Akers. Has to flash away. Lilting Lullaby only tags on to Trez as she has to take a bit of a nap. All out comes in as the Impale goes a little bit wide. Trez is doing everything she can. She's been ping-ponged around. Super Earth Rocket tags onto Akers, but it does not do enough damage. Ikari has started to move up here, as has Mitch. 3 members strong. Meanwhile, Smee in the bot side just going to have a bit of a melee with QQR. Nady carries left alone in the middle lane with Trez down. your pick of the objectives is there for BROD and friends. Instead, Tofu going to opt into resetting, which means the trade would play good for good chi. That being said, the feat of warfare goes to BROD and friends. That first 3 kills already picked up. And the first tower going across to good chi now. Actually, that's I didn't catch how low that top lane tower was. Means if they get one of these 2 currently spawned objectives, they do secure themselves the feats.
Trez is
both
currently
of them
bot side though.
For BROD and friends. Yes, Trez is currently bot side, but I think aware that this dragon is being started, you can see everybody starting to move towards this top side.
Likely
Shots
going to
gone
be a
down.
bit fight around this herald, because I feel like if you're BROD at this point in the game, you're 2k up, you don't want to give over anything. Like you already had a really successful fight in the top side. One of the few small things that we didn't see, it was the usage of the event horizon by the Veigar to deny the Spirit's Refuge coming through from the Shen. But this herald will just be given over from the side of BROD, them deciding to not even try and contest it, which will mean feats are going to be secured for Blue Chi. Are feats going to be enough to stall out this game? I personally don't think so. I feel like their power has been diminished so much. It's nice to have them, it's not a win condition like it used to be.
Yeah, no, I agree. Only about 2 minutes out of Atakan spawning this game. I believe, based on the number of kills, it will be a ruinous Atakan. Of course, that GA buff going across to whoever picks up that objective. You can see, across the map, BROD and friends, they're just in a little bit of a lead. 2,000 gold. No real pressure coming down anywhere from good chi right about now.
Mitch is on vision, and he will be cancelled.
Trez looking for something onto Mitch, not quite able to find it. As Smee is bashing onto Axe on the top side. That tower will fall. Stand United on cooldown, it looks like.
Yeah, it was used in the bot lane fight. I think it seems to be back up right now.
It's hard to tell. But as we can see, Smee and Axe just kind of bashing each other's heads in as Tofu arrives and the all-out comes down. Has to flash away. Swirl Seed goes slightly wide with nobody else on this side of the map. Not there. Trez caught in the baby cage. QQR just walks away, but the Herald is being popped. Looking to really put a lot down in this bot side, as this tower should fall before the charge goes off. That it will. See if Trez has her driver's license, looking to go at a straight shot into this tower. Does manage to find it. Baby Cage comes down and traps Trez in. She's now tanking up tower thanks to the W. Good impale onto Mitch and the excitement of Maro. The backstep on the arrow. They're happy to take 2 towers and a cow for dinner. Nice little bit of steak on the menu for good chi as Mitch goes down. Trez now looking to do what she can to keep her team safe in the bot lane. As they all look to disengage. Able to pick up a nice little chunk of gold for their troubles there.
Really well done from the side of Chi, overloading this bot side, recognizing that, yes, the side of BROD have this really good stand your ground comp, thanks to the Veigar, thanks to the Cassandra, thanks to the Lilia, but you can also just overload it if you manage to find a pick, and Mitch was completely out of position, gets caught out, tries to just make space for the rest of his team to get out, which fortunately they managed to, but it's another turret going down for the side of Chi. It's another kill in the back part of the Jinx. This Jinx now has a full Runans on top of their unit.
Huh?
I'm not sure I agree with the Runans pickup second. Kind of you're in a situation where if you're not damaged immediately, I feel like you're just gonna fall off a cliff.
It's fine. You need to hit multiple targets realistically. They're going to be stacking up together. BROD and friends, they're like this death all stand together type of composition. Speaking of BROD and friends, they're casually just doing the Atakan here. And it is not ruinous, it's voracious.
It is ruinous.
Wait, why?
United
This is
goes
such a
down?
low-kill game. You see a bit of a fight coming in. Tofu bashed into all by the Ishtal's impact. Amaro gets excited. A good impale onto 2. Chova picks up that shutdown. QSS onto the Ash Arrow as Smee keeps Akkers locked up. Sin and Mitch can do nothing but run for the hills and all out over the wall onto Trez. Means Akers is going to have a little longer to fight for his life, but being run down. The shield gets the jump back, but it does not matter as Smee will pocket the kill onto his counterpart.
All of this bloodlust, all of this fighting, it ends up being a 3-for-0 for the side of Chi. They will also... No, the turret was already gone down. He just got the 3 kills because the Atakan went down for the side of BROD and friends. It is good to like keep getting these kills, but the gold lead is insignificant at this point in the game. There is 500 gold of difference.
Sorry, don't mind me. I was being a dope. I was thinking, why was this voracious or ruinous? And then I remembered the big reason for it is it's based on damage, not based on kills. Brain was a little bit slow.
They skewed a little bit the calculation for ruinous spawn gates, and yeah, damage now counts a hell of a lot more than just kills. Because I've seen games with 10, 12 kills where the voracious was spawned. So. More skirmishing in the river, as we see. You know, the Chi, they wanna get the second Drake, try and, you know, slow down the game even more, try and just bring it back into their control. Trez feel like doing a really good job.
Gonna take the lilting lullaby on the side, caught up in the baby cage, and is being bounced around. Ikari already fallen. Akers being brought back by the Impale and is absolutely melting. It's a 1-for-1 so far. Baby cage tags on 3. Morrow flashing forward with no safety, cleansing away from the arrows, trying to do everything they can, but there's not enough damage. The Runans, it did something and they managed to trade their life for Sins as Shova finds Mitch. It's a 2 versus 3. And QQR can't stay. Maru with an absolute psycho play. Somehow it plays out in their favor.
Mauro just saying, you know what, I'll do it myself. Flashes forward, gets the spacing in the fight, denies and makes so much chaos in BROD's backline. You could tell there was a bit of indecision, and that really punished them. Because, you know, Chover is still there hitting. There's Trez who's still there hitting. It ends up being a 2-for-3. Well, 2-for-2. 3-for-2. 3-for-3. But the Drake will go down for the side of Chi, which means they get to keep the game going for longer. They get to keep making space for their AD carries. They get to keep playing this chaotic fighting style. But crucially, this is a second Drake and we're burning AD carry flash to go forward. I feel like next fight there's going to be a bit of a target on Maro's back.
Yeah, this poor Jinx. She's gonna be a Zorn's most wanted, or Piltover's most wanted rather, which I think is accurate to the stage of the skin we are at in this game.
Yeah, I think
we are Piltover's most wanted.
Yeah, there's a lot of things that have happened this game, as we see Trez just keeps being aggressive, keeps looking forward, keeps getting these hard steel stacks. You know, we were talking about it, the 2-item spike for the Bison.
Okay.
Bison.
Okay. I took 2 seconds to take a drink, and in that time, Sin was jumped on by Smee, rocketed to the face, and died. My bad, guys. I am so sorry.
Yeah, I don't know. I feel like the Sin is a little bit of a AD carry hell right now, playing Ashe into Skarner, Shen, and the Corki. Yeah, you're not really having fun at this point in the game. Of course, you're going to get that point where you're going to be able to deal with the meatballs, but you know, you don't quite have the fork and knife yet.
No, not quite there. 25 minutes into this game. It's only about 1,000 gold in it. And most of it sitting on AD carry for Chi.
Yeah, I think Chi are in a really prime position to try and take over this game. They do have a minimal gold lead because it's 1.5k, but it's where they need it. It's on the Jinx. The Jinx has completed the 3rd item, and it is that Lord Dominic's regards. You know, no IE yet, but she will start hitting and she will start chewing also through the meatballs. I feel like, you know, their silver drawer on the side of Chi is more stocked at this time.
There is a longsword in Jinx's inventory, and I'm concerned that Maru is skipping Infinity Edge to go Bloodthirster.
Oh boy.
Which is, we'll see how it works. I'm not going to make any calls just yet. Might have been a fat finger purchase. Time will tell. If we are delaying an Infinity Edge, it is concerning as an arrow straight through the goalpost. 6 points to Sin there. The Swirl Seed gains another 6 for Tofu. Does tag Chova on the back line as Tofu now going to be the one jumped on, rooted up. So much damage coming down as the baby cage will do something, but it's just not enough. BROD and friends, they're all over the place. They're being completely shredded, torn asunder, and separated from their safety nets. Looking a little bit more. Looks like they could be heading towards this Baron Nashor with Jungler dead for another 30 seconds. They should do it quick enough. We'll see if BROD and friends have what it takes as Akers teleports in. Mitch able to get some vision down. 10,000 health, 9,000 on this Baron. It is caught off the vision now. As Flame Trumps go down, 3k health on this Baron as Trez turns around to look for the fight. Akers goes in on the backline, finds their way onto Maro. The Zeddy carry is melting, Trez is buying space for everybody else. Maro's still alive, and Chova is able to kill onto Akers. Smee able to get out to the back of the Baron has been reset. QQR will drop them a primordial burst into the face of Trez. The Scorpion will fall 4 versus 3. Tofu still back in base. Sin, very high health. Maru being kept alive as best he can. The attempt of a flash E from Smee doesn't quite land. Arrow tags onto Chova. Maru goes down. Smee next on the list. Hikari doing what he can. Chova doing what he can. The flashes everywhere. Sin goes down. QQR's left standing. 2 versus 3, but Tofu's arrived at full health. Smee and Hikari a bit too far forward. QQR taking a lot of damage. Tofu looking to chase, but all 3 will get out. Ends up as a 2-for-2 at the end of doors.
What the hell just happened? What an insane fight to start around the Baron. So much burn to try and get on top of Maru, which of course, just got the flashback. Basically now, they didn't have it for this fight. And, our fears seem to be confirmed. That is a Vamp Scepter in the inventory of the Jinx.
Could just sit on that though and go into IE next. We shall see. As the dragon started up by BROD and friends. Hikari, Trez, and Smee all in the area, but this dragon is off vision. Chova walking in from mid now. 6,000 health on the dragon. Trez trying to keep Mitch out. Baby cage goes down. Dragon should be melted. Goes across to BROD and friends. Puts them at soul point.
A really good setup from the side of BROD to take this trade, because approaching from the bot side, having Mitch on the side, looking for the flank, using those, using the event horizon from QQR to just deny the entrance even from the Skarner. But as we see here, the Skarner is going to look for something and gets dissuaded by the mere presence of the little leprechaun mage.
Arrow comes down, tags onto Chova regardless, knockup comes in, and this Corki is dead to right. Down goes Chova to Sin. Smee buying what space he can. Maru's stuck off to the side. Tofu very fast, running forwards. Does get caught by the Impale. There's a lot of damage, has to flash away. Mitch now caught in the middle of everybody on his own. Taunted up, stunned away. Astral's impact sets Maru up nicely. Super Gonna rocket tags onto Sin. Tofu has to run to the hills. Baby Cage keeps Trez locked up for now, but nothing is stopping Maru from hitting Smee. Finds another beautiful taunt onto Sin, and Jinx is once again excited. Tofu, you may be fast, but are you faster than Maru, who is now caught in the Baby Cage, besides stepping away from all of the spells. QQR's taunted up, has to flash away. And still, it is a 1-for-2 at the end of all of that. These fights are going so long, but no more than 2 members dying apiece at any given time.
Feels like, I don't know, we see the items in the inventory of these people, and it feels like there's no damage. There is so much available on the side of Chi to just drag out the fights and to make them as threatening as that first moment. You're not relying like around one game, one fight breaking ultimate to just make it, make it go on, so the Jinx can stack the lethal tempo, can just fight around the rocket timer, can just kite and get all of her abilities, all of her kit, all of the value out of her kit. There's the Shen. I feel like this Shen pick, 5-0 and 5 Smee, it was banned away in game 1. Seems for good reason.
Yeah, no real need for the Stand United this game, but doing an incredible job of just being omnipresent in these fights. Able to make sure his team has that safety that they otherwise wouldn't. Trez caught up in the baby cage here. Not quite gonna lead to anything.
I feel like this game is slowly but surely kind of falling back into the hands of Chi, mostly because they're able to buy so much space from Maro. I feel like Maro, after the Jinx's flash was burnt in that fight in the middle, in the fight around the Drake pit, should have been targeted a few more, a few times. But as this Baron just explodes from the side of Chi, just taken away, you know, with Tofu being on the bot side, there's no threat of a smite. Maybe you can pull it down with, you know, with a Veigar W, but nothing else really to contest it. And now Chi are just going to use this Baron buff to try and make a series out of this game.
Certainly are completely eviscerated that Baron. See 4 members strong in this mid lane. Smee holding off to the side. Dragon up in a minute 30. You do not want to give this over to BROD and friends. Arrow tags onto Maru. Cleanse not available. Q Mikhail's is from Ikari. Maru's safe for the foreseeable future. Of course, that does mean there is no way to cleanse through the Lilting Lullaby. There's no way to cleanse through the baby cage. Maru a little at risk here. We'll see how at risk as time goes on. Smee just pushing in this bottom side wave. All out comes in. Smee has to flash away as all members of BROD and friends look to collapse, but baby cage does not tag. The all out used in trade for the flash.
I think that's a trade you want to take. The flash taken away from the Shen, taking away some of that, you know, like, I don't want to say agency, but, you know, finding those, you know, crucial taunts. We saw a few flash taunts. Some of them went well, some of them went, I feel like. But on the side of Chi, you're doing really well to transmit that. You're using the Shen's pressure into the Cassante, just denying the possibility for BROD to make a pick. You know, Akers does really well to set up the all-out to bring him closer to his team, and then the flash just neutralizes anything. A flash for an ultimate, you know, it's a cooldown you'll take on the side of BROD, but you feel like you want more. You want to take away these Barons. You want to try and make something happen on this map, because Chi are kind of just fallen back, you know, to that, you know, controlled style of play we were praising them for at the end of game 1. You know, after a loss, playing this front to back, playing this, you know, way just controlled game where it feels like BROD never had a moment where they could just hands diff their opponent into getting a lead.
Absolutely the case. Such a big... I mean, we're getting to the point where gold lead does not mean a huge amount. Only 3k in favor, as the Bloodthirster is indeed completed here for Maru. No Infinity Edge in inventory just yet. Survivability is there. Baron should have ticked off by now. It is very close to it in the next couple of seconds. And with soul point for both teams, this next dragon has never been so important.
Feels like this game is kind of coming down to soul. Go some good old League of Legends, none of these scrub nonsense, none of these, you know, to Herald play, none of these feats of strength. You just fight around soul. Who gets that ends up winning the game. proper smashing about. But as you see, BROD are doing well to absorb the pressure of the Baron. There's still only a 4k gold lead for the side of Chi, and I feel like at the end of the day, for the side of BROD, you're looking at your carries and you're like, yeah, we're behind, but we're not really that far behind. I feel like any fight that we can manage to play around our timers, we're gonna be able to take home. But Trez on this corner has been omnipresent. There's so much health available as the Lilting Lullaby goes down.
That tags onto 2, into the baby cage. Ikari, Stand United, and a big shield from their own back pocket tags as the arrow tags onto Smee. Best person it could. Maru forced to flash away thanks to that Rylai's keeping in the baby cage. Trez and Ikari having to run off the other side. Redemption goes down onto the carry duo of Chova and Maru. Smee playing to keep them alive. It's a couple of ultimates burnt for no real reason. The arrow and the lilting lullaby down, if only for the flash. Maru, flash of Trez, and the stand united. At a moment like this, that could be everything.
Look at that speedy little leprechaun. You know that dead man's plate just bouncing around. Then gets his first strike broken immediately. Not able to get any damage out, but Chi having this access to the midway first, on BROD, you're giving up the positioning you had on the map to try and make a play happen. And Chi are just doing what BROD just did on their side, just taking away agency, taking away vision, taking away camps. At this point in the game, taking away one camp is... yeah. You take it. It's, about 100 gold. But it's not going to be what breaks the game. As we see, the Jinx has completed the Bloodthirster on 4th item, while on the side of Sin, no sustain, raw damage. You need this Ashe to start hitting targets. But yet, it's so difficult for an Ashe to fight in these fights, because it feels like if you're not hitting one of the AD carries, the other one's jumping on the top of your head.
It's definitely really, really difficult.
It's like,
See, aggressive posturing for this Baron. 30 seconds time for Good Chi. Their backs are against the wall. If they lose this game, they are out of the Four Nations Winter Split. They win. They take BROD and Friends to a Game 3 and what could be a reverse sweep for the ages. Time will tell, but for now, 38 minutes into the game, 3 dragons apiece, 4 seconds on this Baron, and Chi are definitely in a position to comfortably take that one for themselves. You can see BROD and Friends trying to gain entry. They're trying their best. Arrow tags onto Trez. In comes the Mikhails.
Mikhails used to cleanse that arrow away. Still cleanse available for Maro in this next fight, trying to get away from the lilting lullaby that went to Horizon. Man, what is this game?
Slow, steady, cool, calm, calculated. It's clinical.
And neither of these teams have been that for the entirety of the split. What am I watching? Both of these teams have been
backs
teams
against the wall, that's all it takes. Maybe Cage goes down, doesn't quite tag onto anybody, but Trez is a bit too far forward, doesn't get brought back. Ishtal's impact is cancelled away from Trez, taking monumental amounts of damage. Smee dashing forward, not able to find the CC. Chova and Maru raining what hell they can, but there's very little as Ikari is tagged by the Swirl Seed. This is just a battle of space and time. 15 seconds on the objective and you can look for a trade, but it's Soul for Baron, and I don't think that's worth it for either of these teams to give over that Soul. You can see Chi moving down towards this bot side already. Arrow already back up for Sin. Mikhail's only about halfway back up. Well, Seed tags onto Trez. A flash forward from Tofu. Finds the lilting lullaby onto 4. Chova's kept asleep. Stand united onto Maru will do very little to keep him alive as Tofu blows the Jinx to pieces. Smee falls on the front lines. And Chovas has to leave on the bottom side. Ikari left wanting, and Trez completely annihilated before that fight even starts. There is 50-second death time as at this point in the game, Harold. BROD and Friends, they played it slow, they played it cool, and with finally a bit of time to enter the enemy's base, this could be it. Chove doing what he can, but already just being forced out of the space buying of QQ Ardvigar. We praised this in draft. We were impressed that it was left open, and a teleport had to be used to get back into the base. But it's straight into the event horizon, and Chova falls, Ikari falls, the base of Good Chi falls, and with it, their hopes of staying in playoffs are done. BROD and Friends, off the back of a impossible situation, find themselves the 2-0.
BROD and Friends take it slow, they take it methodical, they make sure they know when the window to fight is. They want to force the fight in the choke. They force the fight into the tiny area, to the access to the river from the bottom side. And Maro has no window to play, because you have cleanse, you have the Mikhails, you can't cleanse a knockup. Mitch finds his way on top of the backline, piggybacking on top of Akers. Akers finds an amazing flank. thanks to the utilization of the blast cone to just make the fight impossible. But Tofu, oh, Tofu, the flash swirl seed into a 5-man sleep. Give this man a medal for bringing BROD over the ridge.
Get on the back, guys. We're going to face Belfast Storm. Commiserations to Chi. They definitely put up a really good fight in that second game, and there were moments of light in the first as well, but unfortunately they just did not have what it took. Tofu and the rest of BROD and friends really stepping up to the plate and showing that their loss in the upper bracket was nothing more than a bit of a fluke. That is it for myself and Harold for tonight. Thanks so much for joining us. We're going to throw it to a quick break, but when we come back, the desk will break down those games for you, and we may even have an interview. Don't go anywhere. It's been a pleasure. We'll see you soon.
Bye-bye.
of time to break down all that happened, and I'm absolutely delighted to be joined by a special guest. That's right, Thor is here, having really enjoyed
Thor.
that matchup.
Yeah,
Absolutely delighted, and even more delighted to see Sin and Akers on the back of an absolute triumph. How are you feeling, Sin?
Good. Very good.
Yeah.
I'm on top of the world.
On top of the world. You know what? I've missed esports players' one-word answers.
Well, you've just muted
Akers,
me.
Yeah, we've
how
just
about
lost
you?
him.
I actually cannot hear what you're saying at all.
Yeah,
Just-
that'd be good. Night.
That's quite problematic for an interview, I'd say.
Hold on, let me jump into your Discord.
No, we can hear him. We can hear him.
Hello, mate.
You go. Cool. Well, yeah. How are you both feeling? Sim, we heard your fantastic response of good. Akers, how about you?
Yeah, I'm good. I'm actually hearing you 2 times because you're echoing in the Discord and the yeah.
Oh,
That's
just
good.
get on with it,
Yeah.
mate. It's not that
Brilliant.
big of a deal.
No,
Just get on
I
with
feel
it.
great. You know, we didn't obviously want to be in the lower bracket right now, but we're winning, and that's what's important. We need to keep going and make it to the big land final, the big finals.
I'm glad you touched about not wanting to be in the lower bracket. We didn't get the opportunity to interview on the back of that loss that sent you down here. How was the team feeling, and sort of the morale after that one, Sin?
Well, we weren't happy, but to be honest, I think it was probably good that we lost because it's been a big motivator. Because I don't know, we're just taking it a bit more seriously now instead of just kind of half-arsing it.
Yeah,
That's good.
yeah. We've scrimmed more in the last like 2 weeks than we probably have in the whole time that we've been on the Ruddy Painkillers and BROD and Friends put together.
Yeah.
So, I mean, we are taking it a bit more seriously. Yeah.
How's it feeling for the team synergy coming in with so many sort of subs, so many different players throughout the season? Obviously, some of them standing, spoilers. QQR were giving sort of the MVP in that last game, and
Oh, come on, that's got to go to Tofu.
solid performance. You know what?
I'd say
Double
QQR as
spoilers.
well. Did a pretty good job.
Tofu's getting series. He got game 1 as well. We give him series. That
Right.
that final, that Lilting Lullaby was amazing. QQR, we thought the
Yeah,
zoning
good
and
stuff,
the way kept you going throughout the game with the damage pouring out was phenomenal. But players like this coming in, I mean, what sort of impact is that having on the team for you, Sid?
I don't know. I don't really mind because I just do my thing in the bot lane. Really, I'm quite a, I'll play with whoever. But I'm enjoying playing with Mitch though. I think he's on a similar wavelength of just kind of like trolling around. And I'm a big fan.
Yeah,
of that.
I mean, we have got a lot of members out of action in the coming weeks, so we were actually a bit worried that we have to sub in Nemly, but luckily we have actually found some solutions, and we have brought Mitch in, and we have a few more subs along the way in the playoffs as well.
I mean, any words for the now defeated Good Chi? They plummet out, but they put up a hell of a fight, especially in game 2, Akers.
Yeah, game 2 was a really long one. We actually, I was really stressed in that one, to be honest, because if we lose that one, then you have to kind of change the whole draft going into game 3, and you have to rethink everything. But yeah, I think they've got a lot of good players on the roster, and the changes that they made coming into, I think, last series that they played seems to have made them like quite a lot more of a cohesive team. So yeah,
Dude, why am I hearing myself? Anyway,
I can't answer that.
I
one
can
for
hear
you,
myself.
I couldn't hear you, mate.
This is so weird.
I've been told for a year about the voices in my head, so I can't worry about it too much. Sin, like Akers just mentioned the draft there. How did you feel the drafting went for your team, and who sort of?
Oh, dude, it was horrible, mate. Our game 2 draft was absolutely awful. It was.
You let them have Shen. I mean, I had
It
questions.
was quite
about
hard
that
to play, to be honest, because their front line was just absolutely immortal, and for some time, so it made it difficult. But
I mean, I think the chat's saying Rob out, to be honest, but I don't think we're going to listen to the chat much.
I don't think Rob's going to make it past the end of the season. He's getting sacked.
Yeah, he's sacked in the morning.
As well as all the subs, all of the starting lineup, you've got a fantastic backline team. Anyone out there in particular that you want to give a real shout out to?
Yeah, just shout out to Governor. He's been looking for houses recently, and if anyone in the South Manchester region has any houses they'd like to give to him, just send BROD a DM. Like, he's really trying to look for one. But yeah, he's the owner of the org, and he puts his heart and soul into it. I love the Governor.
Yeah, I love the Governor. Up the Governor.
Up the Governor and up BROD and Friends, guys. Fantastic performance today. We're going to see more of you in the coming weeks. Thank you both so much for joining us, and best of luck for the rest of the season.
Have a good evening, mate.
Bye-bye.
Have a good evening, Thor.
Yep, see you, mate.
Can confirm Thor will have a good evening. Thank you very much, gents. And from one pair of gents to another, Dubby and Max. Wow, what a series we have just witnessed. That game ended in incredible fashion. Max, tell me a little bit about what you were thinking during that game.
Part of me is a little bit heartbroken, right? Because I've been enjoying this new look Gucci roster so much, but it came into the split so late. I was hoping we get a couple more games with it. Was really excited for it overall. At the same time, though, right? This is why I've been a little bit of a BROD hater, because I was like, I don't feel like they're putting up what these names should be. Sin, Akers, these are names everybody knows. The rest of the roster, these are all massive names, and they just weren't playing up to the level that I was really expecting from this team. Well, all of a sudden, they get kicked down into the losers bracket, say they're trying to play it a little bit more serious, and as much as they did get pushed right here by Gucci, especially in game 1, they looked like the team we've been waiting for them to really be. I'm more than willing to step back off of the BROD hating once they step up and once they really become that team. I think if any team is actually going to take it to Venom Crest, it's this one when they're functioning at peak performance, and this I think was a step in the right direction.
Dubby, how about you? Enough of a step in the right direction? Were you satisfied with what you saw today?
I mean, the first game was great, right? It was a bit back and forth, but BROD always kind of had control, which was fine. Second game, it seems they kind of lost the plot mid-side, didn't really know what was going on, and then towards the end, Tofu finally came in and just finished everything off, cleaned up the game with an amazing flash sleep, just what you needed. And then BROD was like, all right, we're bored, we're ready to go to bed, it's getting too late. They probably had something on the telly they wanted to watch, so they just ended the game. And well, with that, nice 2-0 for them.
I think we've got a couple of replays that display a little bit of what we've seen. The first of which shows just how dominant in the early side of things Good Chi were, and how they were able to take control of the game. A game it looked like for a long time they were going to be able to see through to the end. What happened here, yet again, at Atakan for BROD?
Teams really need to stop taking Atakan. And just in general, I think if you haven't already won a team fight, please stop taking it. It's so easy to throw around it, and boy do they.
They even pick up the Atakan, but they just don't manage to like convert anything more from that besides just giving over deaths. And then the roses as well. Like you can see here, they don't manage to get anything out there. I mean, a huge play from Trez as well, right? She gets a great impale 1-2, buying all the time, and at this point, BROD just has to run back to their base, and then she was able to go back and pick up whatever roses were left. So this was a fantastic point for them to kind of even out the game and get it in their favor.
A delightful impale, the sort of ability there where you could quite easily have seen this being the MVP making moment had Good Chi gone on to win that game. But unfortunately for them, one player, and I'm going to peel back the curtain a little bit. I've already prematurely announced who's getting the MVPs for both of the games and for the series. I was just too excited. But to pull back the curtain, we had a bit of a debate about this one, about especially who's going to get MVP for this game. And for us here watching on desk, having the chat behind the scenes, we were waiting for essentially something to happen from the jungle of BROD and Friends. And boy, did it happen in Stalin, this final clip that we're going to see.
Sure it does.
I'm ready for
it.
We're not going to see it right now, but you can still talk about it, Max.
No, it was great. We were having a lot of debate, right? Because we expect a lot from Tofu. Brilliant jungler. Very proactive in game number 1. Game number 2, with the Lily, it never really got ahead, wasn't quite able to get anything going for the longest time, but had a couple really big ultis, and that's the thing with champions like the Lily, are very similar to the Nico, to the MF, where if you hit that ulti at some point, then all of a sudden you can just win the game for your team, and this fight, it was just so slow. We see a lot of what was the problem for Gucci in this fight, in that they could never quite find the engage, because they're always worried about the baby cage from QQR, everybody's constantly getting split around. And then later on in this fight, Akers sort of just steps up in a way that, honestly, I don't think he should have been able to get away with. You're tanky enough on the Cassante shore, and it just draws everybody up from Gucci. They get a little bit too close, a little bit too cocky. They've been winning all of these fights, but they can't quite pull the trigger. And then here we go. 3, 2, 1.
That's your one. Then your lilting lullaby is going to come out of it. And that's your
gorgeous.
Just pause frame right there. I mean, everything you need to see. Sleep on everyone essential, even the up players like Chovy there, who's not exactly hit afterwards. It stuns them for long enough to just let BROD run them down one by one. These guys were tanky, but in these situations where you're just hitting everyone as a 5-stack at one at a time, nothing more that they could do.
Hey, sometimes you only get one shot, one opportunity to seize everything you ever wanted, and right there, Tofu took it, and with both, I was going to say with both hands. Does Lilia even have hands? I don't know. So with both hooves, some of the hooves, all 4 hooves. Well, it behooves me to announce anyway who the MVP for, first of all, for that game was. And even though maybe it wasn't as much of a highlight in that particular play, the constant damage, the constant zoning potential came out of QQR, who put up absolutely massive numbers, massive damage. We didn't get a final check-in on the stacks, but that AP must have been over 1,000 there, Dubby.
Yeah, for sure. I mean, this guy is like more of a solo MVP, but the cages there was what we really touched on. Like, there was so many situations where this guy would just drop off the cage and just zone off everyone from Good Chi, be able to do anything. Couldn't get to a dragon, couldn't get to a moment. Sure, it's not as flashy as a 5-person Lilia stun from Tofu, but it was what got them to the point where they could get to there, right? It slowed down the game enough to enable BROD to come back at the end.
But the truth is that the big hero moment, the huge play, which inevitably ended the series as we saw them push down mid lane at the end, did come from our Game 1 MVP, and it was Tofu, who strode up big at crucial times, Max.
Yeah, I mean, as much as it was a great flashy end to the game on the Lilia, the performance in the first game on the Zyra was just huge. Constant zoning pressure again, but also tons of extra damage as well. Was just able to take over the game completely, and I'm very excited to see what Tofu could do going forwards, because these are 2 very AP heavy junglers. We've also seen what Tofu can do on the AD focus. Got a really good broad champion pool. Very much deserves series MVP for this man.
Very well deserved, excellent performance. And hey, what can I say, Atkinson? Next time that you come on for your interview, you'll have to have performed better to make sure you've got that MVP all for yourselves. A stunning performance here from BROD and friends. They are able to 2-0 Good Chi, sending them through the elimination gate and themselves proceeding through the door through which Belfast Storm await in the next stage. What are your feelings coming into that one, Dubby?
I've heard good things about Belfast Storm, but as much as I've heard actually great things about Belfast Storms, what we came off the interview, BROD and friends have had that kind of reality check. They've had the tempo now to kind of build this win streak. Now they've come off 3 losses in a row, I think, and now they can start getting these wins, building up that momentum and bringing them into a confident state, because sure, skills make a huge impact in these games, but just mental state of mind is also incredibly important. And I feel like BROD, they have the vibes, they have everything. They can take this down and bring it back to the lower bracket final for sure.
Max, you are getting closer and closer to stopping embracing that hate of BROD and friends. What more do they need to do to make a believer out of you?
If they can completely dismantle Belfast Storm, I think that's a great step, because in terms of names, Belfast Storm is also littered top to bottom from names that you will know if you've been around in the UK scene for a while, and it feels like Belfast Storm, they've also been getting better throughout the split. They have had a real look as like our 4th best team, very much the 4th best team, not really breaching up that top 3, but constantly better than everybody else. That's borne out in this situation, but I think this is the real test right now. If they're able to win versus BROD and friends, all of a sudden they fully crack that top 3, and maybe this upward trajectory is going to be on top. For BROD and friends, if they can take them down, I think I may fully have gotten over the hating of this team, and that is very exciting.
All that and more still awaits us in this 4 Nations tournament. Make sure to follow the various socials, especially UKEL, to make sure that you know exactly what's going on. You can tune in for more of these games. Hey, while you're at it, why not drop a follow for these fantastic fellows who have been casting with me, and to the ever wonderful Luna and Harold Hamhand. Massive thank you to them and to all of production, especially Wet Noodles behind the scenes, making everything run so smoothly. But from myself, Greyheart, from a yawning Thor, and the rest of the Greyhounds here, good night.